10,000 Mongol Cavalry, one nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. The year is 1211 AD. The greatest land army in human history just locked eyes with the most powerful warship ever built. Here's exactly what happens next. The USS Gerald R materializes 3 miles offshore, and instantly everything goes dark. GPS, dead. Satellite uplink, severed. Radio, static across every band. The crew runs diagnostics for 20 minutes before someone says what everyone already suspects. They are not in 2025 anymore. A Mongol Tumen, 10,000 elite cavalry, received scout reports of an iron island that appeared overnight. Genghis Khan, who has never retreated from anything, sends observers forward. What both sides are now facing is a hard strategic clock, and neither of them knows it yet. The carrier holds 4,500 crew, 90 combat aircraft, food for 90 days, and aviation fuel for roughly 400 operational flight hours. Every hour that passes is an asset that cannot be recovered. There is no resupply, there is no extraction, there is only the mission, whatever that now means. On raw capability, this comparison is not close. The carrier's FA-18 Super Hornets cruise at Mach 1.8 and carry precision-guided munitions capable of neutralizing targets from 17 miles away. The ship's phalanx CIWS system fires 4,500 rounds per minute as last-line point defense system. Radar can track incoming threats at ranges that would have seemed supernatural to any civilization alive in 1211 AD. Genghis Khan commands between 100,000 and 150,000 warriors, the most adaptable, psychologically disciplined military force the pre-modern world ever produced. They have no fixed supply lines to cut, no central city to hold hostage, no single commander whose loss collapses the system. The Mongols have already beaten armies 3 times their size by being willing to absorb losses and restructure faster than their enemies can capitalize. The carrier's Achilles heel is not firepower, it's dependency. Every component, every round, every gallon of JP-5 jet fuel is a finite resource tied to a supply chain that is now 800 years in the future. Day 1. The commanding officer authorizes a reconnaissance sweep. 2 FA-18s, low and fast. The effect on the Mongol formation is immediate and total. Horses scatter across a 10-mile radius. Warriors trained since childhood to hold formation under arrow fire, siege engine bombardment, and psychological terror, scatter. The sound alone, a mechanical roar with no animal or natural analog, triggers a breakdown in unit cohesion that no Mongol general has ever had to manage before. He doesn't run. He watches the Sky Demons bank and return to the Iron Island. And then he starts asking questions. The carrier's first precision strike neutralizes a forward command position. 1 munition, 1 target, outcome confirmed by drone imagery. The tactical result is decisive, but the commanding officer flags the strategic problem in the same briefing. They have destroyed an asset they cannot replace against an enemy that can replace everything. Every sortie degrades the carrier's long-term capability. The Mongols have no such constraint. Time is already working against the Ford, and the engagement has barely begun. By week 3, the math is undeniable. At moderate operational tempo, 6 sorties per day, the Ford burns through its aviation fuel reserves in approximately 8 weeks. After that, the flight deck goes silent. The FA-18s become expensive static displays. The carrier's strike radius, once 500 miles, collapses to the range of its deck guns and defensive systems. The Mongols notice before the crew officially acknowledges it. Sky activity decreases, then decreases again. Genghis Khan has fought behind walls before. Zhengdu, Samarkand, Urgench. His answer is always the same: encirclement, patience, and controlled pressure. He requisitions every watercraft within 200 miles, river barges, fishing vessels, coastal traders. A mass approach is organized, not as a tactically sophisticated naval assault, but as a logistics problem. How many vessels does it take to overwhelm a static defensive position when the cost of individual losses is acceptable? The carrier CIWS and close defense systems handle the first wave and the second, but the crew is now operating on disrupted sleep cycles, rationed resources, and the psychological weight of a situation with no extraction timeline. The Mongols don't need to breach the hull. They just need to make every day more expensive than the last. Eventually, one of two outcomes terminates the standoff. The crew, calculating the precise point at which offshore survival becomes untenable, initiates a controlled coastal landing to negotiate terms. Or the fuel runs dry, operations cease, and 4,500 people begin navigating the 13th century with small arms and salvaged equipment. Either way, what remains on that coastline is extraordinary. Steel alloys no medieval metallurgist can explain. Hydraulic components, composite materials, ordnance casings with dimensional tolerances centuries ahead of anything being produced in Asia or Europe. The Mongols were already the most aggressive technological adopters of the medieval world. They conscripted Chinese engineers, Persian scholars, Arab physicians from every territory they absorbed. They knew how to extract capability from captured expertise. They won't reverse engineer a jet engine, but accelerated understanding of high-carbon steel properties, mechanical leverage, and precision fabrication methods would reshape Mongol siege capability within a generation. The historical choke points that slowed or stopped Mongol expansion, logistical overextension in Eastern Europe, the Mamluk tactical stand at Ain Jalut, the naval disasters off Japan, all of them are recalculated against an empire that absorbed 21st century metallurgical data and emerged from the encounter with the absolute strategic confidence of a force that faced sky demons, waited them out, and won. The Gerald R. Ford was never going to be conquered by cavalry. It was going to be worn down by time, distance, and the one strategic vulnerability no modern military has ever fully solved. What happens when the logistics chain disappears? Genghis Khan didn't need to understand what the Iron Island was. He needed to understand one thing: that it wasn't going anywhere either. Drop your actual strategic analysis in the comments. Once aviation fuel hits zero and operations cease, what's the realistic week-by-week survival timeline for the crew before ground contact becomes unavoidable? Walk us through the math. We're pinning the most detailed breakdown.